From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. There is enormous tension in the nation's capital tonight. The independent counsel's report has been delivered to the Congress. The possibility of impeaching the president must now be addressed. There was nothing else that mattered in Washington today. Democratic leaders from the House of Representatives went to the White House this morning. They found the president very emotional.
You know, he's caused a lot of hurt and pain to people, and he feels just very, well, he feels devastated by it.
On Capitol Hill, the leaders of both parties struggled with what to do now that the report is there. The Democratic leader in the House of Representatives, Richard Gephardt.
Next to declaring war, this may be the most important thing that we do.
The Republican chairman of the Judiciary Committee.
No one looks forward to this traumatic journey that we're about to enter on.
The president went to Florida today, but he has been told how much trouble he is in. Unexpectedly, he said this.
I let my family down and I let this country down. But I'm trying to make it right. And I'm determined never to let anything like that happen again.
The independent counsel's report is under lock and key tonight, but there is enormous pressure to make it all public. In Washington today, the tension is extraordinary. First, on the report itself, ABC's Jackie Judd.
It all came down to this: some 36 boxes containing the case that independent counsel Ken Starr has built against the president. The House Sergeant-at-Arms signed his name acknowledging receipt of the report from Starr's prosecutors.
The Office of Independent Counsel submitted a referral to the House of Representatives containing substantial and credible information that may constitute grounds for impeachment of the President of the United States.
The heavily guarded boxes were taken to a nearby congressional building and locked up to be kept there until the House decides how to move forward. Inside those cartons, according to sources familiar with the investigation, a 240-page narrative of events and a 160-page analysis alleging the president violated his oath of office by committing perjury and obstruction of justice. The report also presents evidence related to abuse of power by alleging Mr. Clinton used his office to prevent prosecutors from learning the truth. To support his findings, Starr included transcripts of what witnesses told the grand jury, the videotape of Mr. Clinton's testimony, and the tapes that Linda Tripp secretly recorded of Monica Lewinsky. According to the sources, the report focuses almost entirely on the president's relationship with Lewinsky. It concentrates on what happened after his attorneys learned last December that Lewinsky was on a list as a potential witness in the Paula Jones sexual harassment case. Starr suspects Mr. Clinton suggested to Lewinsky how she could avoid testifying and avoid turning over gifts from him that had been subpoenaed, and that he had enlisted the support of Vernon Jordan and others to help Lewinsky find a job as a means of ensuring her silence. Sources say the report also cites evidence proving Mr. Clinton committed perjury when he was deposed in the Jones case, and again during his grand jury testimony, when he denied having sexual relations with Lewinsky as it was defined by Jones's lawyers. And sources say the report cites weaknesses in the case that would allow Starr to preempt the expected criticism of the president's allies that the case doesn't hold up. Peter?
Jackie, a lot of talk today about an executive summary of the report. First there was going to be one, and now there isn't. What happened?
Right. At the 11th hour, Peter, prosecutors decided to pull the executive summary because they didn't want to place themselves in the position where they could be accused of only highlighting the most damaging information that they had collected against the president.
Okay, Jackie Judd in Washington, thank you very much. However this turns out, it is a turning point in Mr. Clinton's presidency. It is not an exaggeration to say that he has less control of his destiny than at any time since he was elected. Sam Donaldson is at the White House. Sam, I know they're trying to develop a strategy for the next phase. Can you lay out what you know about it?
Right, Peter. To begin with, the president started reaching out to congressional Democrats today, imploring them to stick with him in his desperate hour of need. And he continued reaching out to the public using the same tone of tradition he began in Ireland last Friday. After meeting with the president at the White House this morning to discuss the scandal, a group of House Democrats appeared shaken by what they had heard.
And he knows he has done something that has been very, very, very difficult for not only his family but for the country. And he feels very deeply about all of this.
It was an emotional meeting, and he apologized to us directly for what had happened.
The Democrats told the president he needs to convince the country of his repentance, and Mr. Clinton lost no time in following through. While being introduced in Orlando this afternoon at a Florida Democratic Party gathering, the president jotted down some words of contrition on a piece of paper, then delivered them.
I've done my best to be your friend, but I also let you down. And I let my family down, and I let this country down. But I'm trying to make it right. And I'm determined never to let anything like that happen again. So I ask you for your understanding, for your forgiveness on this journey we're on. I want you to understand these have been the toughest days of my life, but they may turn out to be the most valuable for me and my family. And I have no one to blame but myself for my self-inflicted wounds.
But if the president was admitting he let the country down, back at the White House, his private lawyer David Kendall was making it clear Mr. Clinton is going to fight to stay in office.
People should keep in mind that the documents delivered to Congress today represent only the prosecutor's allegations. Allegations that we have been denied a chance to review. But we do know this: there is no basis for impeachment.
Brave words, but in fact the White House is gearing up for a desperate impeachment battle. Deputy Chief of Staff John Podesta is arranging for an impeachment team. There's talk of hiring an outside specialist. The name of former Oklahoma Congressman James Jones has been mentioned. Tomorrow morning, the president meets with congressional Democrats on the Senate side, the Senate leadership. And in the afternoon, Peter, he may have the most difficult meeting to discuss this matter he's had outside of discussing it with his wife. He's going to meet with his cabinet. You'll remember that at the outset, 4 cabinet members came out here and said, oh yes, I believe him, I believe him. He's going to apologize to his cabinet for lying to them, I'm told, and that is really going to be a very emotional moment.
Sam, the mood of the country has always been very important in this whole case. Does the president have any plans that you know of to go to the country again to try to raise support?
Well, apparently at the moment, the plans are to do what you saw today. At moments of his choosing, he will discuss this. But there are no plans that I know of, that I've been told of, for another speech like the one he gave on that Monday when he testified before the grand jury. And in fact, they're going to try to do business as usual. Mrs. Clinton has a White House event tomorrow. She's going to meet with Katie Couric, the NBC anchor, and others to discuss colon cancer. He wants the country to see that he's continuing to perform as president and that he's very contrite and he's very sorry.
Thank you, Sam. Business as usual will be difficult. Certainly on Capitol Hill is an enormous burden on the Congress at the moment. In a moment, we'll take a closer look.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Century by Buick.
Are rich people taller than the rest of us? Are their loved ones more deserving of an airbag? Was the sun created solely for their enjoyment? Are we the only car company that doesn't think so? Century by Buick. Full of amenities for under $20,000. Loaded for under $24,000. Century by Buick. A luxury car for everyone.
McGuire, you have just broken the home run record. What are you going to do next?
We're going to Disney World!
Little sister, I admit it. I was snooping in your medicine cabinet last night.
Any surprises?
You switched to X-Lax.
Yeah, Correctol works with something artificial. X-Lax works with natural senna.
Very effectively, too.
You tried it.
Today's gentle X-Lax is the only laxative with the X-Lax Morning Guarantee. 2 out of 3 users agree. It's dependable overnight.
X-Lax, what a find.
What a snoop.
Today's X-Lax, good morning, guaranteed.
Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo, recommended #1 by dermatologists. It works. Works on all 3 major itchy, flaky scalp conditions. The leading dandruff shampoo doesn't. Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo. It works.
There is an enormous weight on the Congress now. The independent counsel's report, as we've said before, is the hottest political potato around. There is the constitutional question of impeachment to be faced, and there are, of course, the politics. ABC's Linda Douglas is on the Hill.
On Capitol Hill, leaders of both parties are preparing to face the question of whether to impeach the president.
This is a very serious constitutional question and should be dealt with the greatest of concern, and I think with the greatest and deepest sense of patriotism.
This is an exercise in individual conscience. We ask for God's help and blessing.
But their immediate problem is what to do with the report. Democrats are filled with dread, anticipating that it will be filled with so much damaging information about the president that it could sink their party in the fall elections. Many now are urging that the entire report, details and all, be released now so they can get it behind them as quickly as possible.
There's no reason this should be limited to some inner circle here in the Congress and dripped out through leaks week after week after week. Post it on the internet and make it available to every American citizen.
Republican leaders also are urging that the report be made public.
Our strong belief is that the public has the right to know, that both members and the public should expect that they will have access to the report.
Still, when members began demanding to see the report today, Gingrich took a firm stand.
And until the Rules Committee has determined where these documents will go and in what manner they will be handled, they will be maintained under armed guard in a room that the Sergeant at Arms is responsible for.
The Rules Committee will debate how to handle the report tomorrow, and the full House of Representatives could vote on whether to release the whole thing by the end of the week. The contents of this report could ignite public opinion one way or another, and that could push the Congress to act quickly. Peter?
Thanks, Linda. Linda Douglas on Capitol Hill. ABC's Cokie Roberts has naturally been talking to members of Congress today, and she joins us tonight from our Washington bureau. Cokie, at moments like this, a reporter almost invariably has contacts who are a litmus test of where things are going. What do your litmus tests tell you today?
Well, it sounds very benign, Peter, because what they're saying is we have to wait and see what's in the report. But that's very significant. The fact that Democrats and Republicans met this morning and came out and said we have to handle this in a bipartisan fashion, that's very significant. What it means is that they are not just, the Democrats are not just going on the attack, defending the president at all costs, and saying that Kenneth Starr's report is not credible. That's not what's happening. They're saying wait and see, wait and see. That's not very good for the president.
There was another moment at the White House today when the Democratic leadership went to see the president, and somebody asked him whether there was anything else out there that they had to worry about. What does that tell them?
Well, and the president just moved along and didn't answer. Now, the White House says that it was as part of a statement, not a direct question, and as far as White House advisors are concerned, there is nothing else out there. But people on the Hill are not at all sure whether that's true or not, and the worst of it is, Peter, they don't know whether to take the president's word for it or not.
And in a phrase, I hate to put too much emphasis on intuition, where do you think it's going?
I think that what will happen is the House will take a look at this report and then have a fight about whether it is impeachable offenses or not.
Many thanks, Cokie Roberts, in the Washington Bureau tonight. One last important item from Washington. The independent counsel, Kenneth Starr, has not finished. The Lewinsky grand jury, the place is falling apart slightly but not seriously. The Lewinsky grand jury will hear more testimony tomorrow. We do not know from whom. And Primetime Live will take this whole subject up again this evening, and so will Nightline. Now, there is other news today. In a moment, the very controversial subject of choosing the sex of your baby. Very controversial science news. And behind the celebration, how dangerous the message.
Want to color your gray beard or mustache and look natural? Get Just for Men Gel.
You look so natural, no one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
Brush in and in 5 minutes, gray is gone.
No one can tell with Just for Men Gel.
How sure can you be? Let's find out. I want to talk to you about your pits. Yeah, your pits. Come over here. Let me introduce you to Sure Ultra Dry. You can feel it dry on my hand where we put it. No, I want to pit your left underarm against your right underarm. I need you to put the Sure under your right.
Sure Ultra Dry keeps you drier than any solid, spray, roll-on, or gel. We're talking drier.
This is another brand. Why don't you try to your left arm? Which side do you think is going to be drier? Actually, my right. The sure side.
And drier is great because we're athletically busy.
Hey, let's work it out. You'll be drier. We're sure. Eagle Man, I want to talk to you about your pits.
This week, the Publishers Clearinghouse Prize Patrol has no van to drive and no checks to deliver. Because this week, Publishers Clearinghouse is putting thousands of real checks right in the mail. If you get an envelope with this green star, open it and you can find a real check for $100,000 that you can take right to the bank. So this week, the Prize Patrol will have to find something else to do.
Yes.
Nice one. Watch for a Publishers Clearinghouse envelope with a green star. There could be a real check inside.
Lighten up your coffee with Carnation Coffee Mate Light and Fat-Free. And enjoy all the rich, creamy taste without all the fat. Your cup, your Coffee Mate.
The best way to stop suffering from allergies is never to start. This is Nasal Crown. You heard right. Nasal Crown. It's allergy prevention. Nasal Crown doesn't just relieve allergies. It flat out prevents them, preventing the natural defenses in your nose from going haywire. So you can live like a person with no allergies. Nasal Crown's like nothing else. No drowsiness, no jitters, no rebound congestion. Nasal Crown. The best way to stop suffering is never to start.
There is news bound to cause a storm from a fertility clinic in Virginia today. Doctors say they've developed a reliable method for parents to choose the sex of their babies. The storm will be a debate about ethics. Tonight, the science. Here's ABC's Ned Potter.
Philippa Fuel is 29 weeks pregnant, and she and her husband John asked from the start that their baby be a girl. There's a history of hemophilia in their family, which only affects boys.
We were just so excited to have a healthy girl.
Being able to specify your child's sex has been a hit-or-miss proposition, but the odds have been greatly improved with today's announcement from the Genetics and IVF Institute, which calls its technique microsort.
We feel very comfortable that this is the most reliable technique that has been developed as to date.
How reliable? 93%. The procedure is still experimental and does not yet work well for parents who want boys, but the clinic says 13 of 14 couples who wanted a girl got one. Microsort begins with a simple notion that sperm which produce girls contain 2.8% more DNA than sperm which produce boys. The lab figured out how to separate the two types, then use only girl-producing sperm to fertilize the mother's egg. The new technique means a lot less anxiety for people like Ms. Fuel, who worries about a genetic disease. But many couples come for help because they'd like a certain mix of boys and girls, and that's where things get complicated.
Should we be in the business of designer families? Is that something where a medical specialist would want to intervene?
One study showed 31% of young adults would use high-tech ways to choose their children's sex. And of that group, 81% of women and 94% of men said they would prefer their first child be a boy. So would the new technology make their lives better or open a Pandora's box? Ned Potter, ABC News, New York.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost more than 155 points to close at 78.65. On the NASDAQ market, stocks lost more than 36 points. There was a 50-point drop in the Dow immediately after the news of the Star report became public. Investors apparently nervous that uncertainty in Washington adds instability to the global economy. In Oregon today, the challenge of making travel arrangements for a whale. Keiko the killer whale is going home to Iceland. This afternoon, they began getting Keiko, Willie to many, into a giant nylon sling and hoisting all 10,000 pounds of him into a specially made, very large, water-filled box. Keiko will be flown to Iceland to see if he can, as in the movie, survive on his own in the ocean. When we come back, a massive celebration in North Korea. The United States thinks there is no reason to celebrate and a lot of reason to worry.
Traffic sounds bad.
Yeah, so tell me about Cantex.
Just jump to 43 even, you're long 20,000.
What's the best way to sell that?
Checking the quote. There's a huge size on the bid, no need to break it up. You can move it as a block.
Good, sell it at market, okay?
Placing an order, moving 20,000.
Moving nowhere in Santa Monica.
Confirmed, 20,000 sold at market.
Can you give me the peonies?
Yves Saint Laurent Eyewear by Luxottica. What do you want people to see?
I want you to see discretion.
Dignity.
I want you to see
how the girl next door turned out. Let them see you in Yves Saint Laurent eyewear by Luxottica.
Is there a store between here and the Canadian border we haven't been to? Honey, I'm beat. I'm starving.
Here's something good for you.
Ensure bars?
Complete balanced nutrition. To go.
Ensure bars with protein, 24 vitamins and minerals, including calcium, vitamin D, iron, zinc, antioxidants, C and E, a source of complete balanced nutrition.
Delicious. What's next?
The Canadian border.
I'm ready.
Ensure bars to your health.
We were on vacation in New Orleans. Great city. But every night, I get this awful heartburn. A woman in our tour group said, "Here, try Zantac 75. "Oh, thank you," I said. "You're a saint." She said, "No, actually, I'm a doctor."
The medicine in Zantac 75 is the #1 doctor-prescribed acid reducer. It relieves even your toughest heartburn, controlling acid for up to 12 hours.
Maybe a doctor and a saint.
Zantac 75, the final word in heartburn relief.
The touch, the feel of cotton, the fabric of our lives.
North Korea celebrated 50 years as a communist state today, 50 years of trouble for many people inside the country and out. It is not an easy country to get a handle on. The United States has been watching events very closely today, very closely to see what they can. Here's ABC's John McWethy.
It does not look like a nation struggling to survive. A day-long celebration filled the streets. Kim Jong-il, usually one of the world's most reclusive leaders, watched it all from high above the parade ground. In fact, this is a nation sliding toward yet another confrontation with the world. There was the provocative missile test last week. A North Korean rocket flew directly over Japan. And the U.S. is even more worried about the nuclear weapons complex North Korea appears to be building in a deep tunnel.
The security issues here are enormous. At any time, because of the character of this regime, we could have a conventional war in the Korean Peninsula. We need to avoid that.
But how can the U.S. avoid that? And how to stop North Korea from developing nuclear weapons and the missiles to carry them? America would seem to have leverage. North Korea's economy is collapsing. As many as 1 million people may have already starved to death. This year, the U.S. is providing $72 million in food aid, and Washington has also promised to help build 2 nuclear power plants in North Korea if the government there stops its efforts to develop nuclear weapons. But North Korea has pushed ahead with its military projects, and now many are demanding an end to any help.
What do we do if we do that? What happens to that ballistic missile program? What happens to that nuclear weapons program? How do we deal with that? Do we go to war?
It's a terrible dilemma for the U.S. Negotiating with a country that starves its people and lies about what it is doing has little appeal. But the alternatives may be even worse. John McWethy, ABC News, The Pentagon.
Elsewhere in Asia today, a reminder of how sometimes things just are. In Beijing today, turmoil in a hotel lobby. Security officers dragged the wife of a prominent dissident away from the hotel where Mary Robinson, former president of Ireland, chief United Nations human rights official, was arriving to give a speech. Chu He-lan had gone to the hotel to ask for a meeting about her husband, who is in jail because he has campaigned for workers' rights. In Nova Scotia, sources close to the Swissair investigation tell ABC News there is another tiny, important clue, a piece of a seat from the cockpit that had burned, now recovered. Today, the recovery ship USS Grapple arrived on the scene to help the salvage effort in the rough seas off Peggy's Cove, and not far from Peggy's Cove, a memorial service. Families and friends and rescue workers. It was 1 week ago tonight that 229 people died. In just a moment, a last word about the record.
You know, the last I looked, the average workday lasts more than a few hours, right?
Right.
But average pain relievers may work for a few hours, then quit. Good thing there's Aleve. Aleve has the strength to work on arthritis pain all day long with just 2 pills. It would take 8 Tylenol to do that. So, if your pain reliever isn't putting in a full day's work,
Fire it.
fire it and take Aleve. 2 pills, all day relief. Works for me.
Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo. Recommended #1 by dermatologists. It works. Works on all 3 major itchy, flaky scalp conditions. The leading prescription dandruff shampoo doesn't. Neutrogena T-Gel Shampoo. It works.
Are rich people taller than the rest of us? Are their loved ones more deserving of an airbag? Was the sun created solely for their enjoyment? Are we the only car company that doesn't think so? Century by Buick, full of amenities for under $20,000, loaded for under $24. Century by Buick, a luxury car for everyone.
Do you experience vaginal dryness and need moisture? Vagisil Intimate Moisturizer is like bringing back your own natural moisture with natural aloe and soothing chamomile. Gentle enough to use every day. Vagisil Intimate Moisturizer.
Just a brief review of the main story. The independent counsel's report has been delivered to the Congress. It arrived in almost 36 boxes. Sources tell ABC News that the report contains a detailed narrative of events involving the president and Monica Lewinsky, and analysis alleging that the president violated his oath of office by committing perjury, obstructing justice, and abusing his power. Finally this evening, the good news. Last night's news. In St. Louis this afternoon, thousands turned out to celebrate Mark McGuire's moment of glory. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch predicts they'll sell 1 million newspapers today, 3 times more than normal. Demand is so high for this souvenir edition, they had to go out and buy more ink. The ball and the bat and McGuire's jersey have already arrived at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, a reminder that what we witnessed was history. Last night in the 4th inning, after 5 months of baseball, after going to the plate more than 500 times, watching the mound, watching the pitcher, in the blink of an eye, deciding it was the right pitch. That is our report on World News Tonight. Later on, the final edition of Primetime Live, which is about to become part of the new 2020. A look back at some of their most memorable stories. I'm Peter Jennings. Good night.
Tomorrow, a shocking report. College drinking is down, but students that do drink binge. What do we do? Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now